Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 108 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. Here for you on another Wednesday after a week break. Ryan was out for the majority of last week doing stuff and going off to a wedding, and not a huge news week last week, so not a terrible time to just take an episode off. Tried to get some fill-in co-hosts. People were out of town, whatever. So it just didn't work out. So we took a week off, and like I said, wasn't a terrible week to do so, but we're back refreshed, ready to roll. Lots to talk about as in comparison to what we would have had to work with last week. So I'm excited to catch up on some things and get into the nitty gritty, like the newer stuff coming out. But how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Can't complain. Like you said, a lot more to talk about this week than last week. Like I said to you right before we jumped on here, I found it funny that we go from really nothing from any of the four major teams last week to talk about to all of them this week. I think it's probably the first time we're talking about all four: the Patriots, the Celtics, the Red Sox, and the Bruins, probably in at least a handful of shows, because I feel like there hasn't been a ton going on when it comes to the Pats of late or the Red Sox. But all four today. Obviously, moments of the week. We got a bunch of stuff with that too, so it'll be good to get back into that and get back into the swing of things.
Absolutely. Speaking of moments of the week, I mean, there's a lot. Well, some quick hitter stuff, but a lot to talk about in different realms. One of the more recent pieces of news: the NHL 23 cover. Sarah Nurse and Trevor Zegras will grace the cover this year. The first time a woman is on the cover, which is really cool. Trevor Zegras, of course, anybody who knows him, electric talent, great passer, very crafty, one of the young faces of the game. And Sarah Nurse is a big face in not just Canadian women's hockey, but in women's hockey in general. So it's really cool to see them have both of them on the cover. Two very big time personalities for women's and men's hockey. So very cool to see them do that with the cover this year. I'm excited and somewhat pessimistic at the same time to hopefully get a better game this year, but not expecting anything because that's just what EA does.
I have not bought an NHL game in so long.
Yeah, it's bad. But yeah, very cool to see both of them on the cover this year. Reveal trailer tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. But yeah, your thoughts. You any quick thoughts on it?
I was gonna say, because like I said, I haven't bought an NHL game in a while. But it kind of, unless they've been doing it for a couple of years, like I said, I don't know. Seems like they're making more of a push towards, like you said, obviously having the first woman on the cover in the franchise's history. Do they have? I know 2K has playable WNBA teams. Is that something NHL has been doing over the last couple of years, or maybe that's something they're going to push towards this year with the first female and Sarah Nurse, like you said, being on the cover? Like I said, I don't know if they have that in the game or not already. You can speak to that more, but overall, a cool thing. Like I said, it looks like they're trying to head into that territory if they haven't already done so.
Yeah, they incorporated women's hockey in the game last year. I haven't played it. I just really haven't played the game in general.
Yep.
I've played NHL once or twice in the last 4 or 5 months. Okay. So I haven't played the mode, but they have added women's hockey into the game, which is pretty cool. So I just remembered I gotta pull up the Twitter stream in case we get anybody in the chat. But yeah, very cool. The cover just looks cool too with the palm trees, and they're all it's a different look versus having someone like a skating motion or shooting motion or something that's outside. Zegras is wearing the orange Mighty Ducks uniform, which is a good call from them because they would have got flamed. They have to have some awareness that the Ducks jerseys are very much not people's favorite.
Yeah, towards the bottom of the jersey tiers.
They're so bad. Ooh, a little high noon.
Yes, sir.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Kind of makes me want to get drinking. Have a couple drinks in the podcast. Why not? But yeah, very cool. Next up, the beer dog. We couldn't go without. Everybody's talking about the beer dog. It's awesome. I think it's definitely disgusting. And
I was gonna say you're taking a way more positive spin on it than I would have.
Hey man, he's doing his thing. He's thinking outside of the box. I think a lot of people out there, sneaky jealous that they didn't think of it first.
I don't know about that.
It's
a lot of negative reviews I saw on Twitter. Not a lot of people were happy. Like I said, the one thing that kind of just summed it all up, it was a Yankees fan doing it. So there's your answer right there. If you were thinking what's wrong with this guy? Is he delusional? It's a Yankees fan.
Maybe some people that are hating on him are just insecure and they don't want to.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know, but
They did on the yak with the Barstool Yak. They did it with like burritos and like baguettes and freaking
Okay.
chicken fingers.
Uh-huh.
After it was really funny. They did it with a stick of butter. It was awesome. Really, really funny.
I saw
Um,
the Fox crew for MLB did like Ernie Johnson and all those guys try doing it, and they looked like disgusted by it too. So not a
I think it's
positive thing, I
awesome.
think, around. You're like I said, you're in the minority, I think, when it comes to this. It's a
Look,
lot of people, like I said, were like, "What the fuck is like this guy needs to be thrown in jail? Like never bring this guy to a baseball game again? Like all those type of things." But
yeah,
I don't
maybe
know. I
I'm going to the Sox on Friday night. Maybe I'll get a Fenway Frank and have a beer
try it.
dog.
Oh god.
It can't be that good, but um, it's really funny. My first thought was how much power is he getting through that? Like, is it a very slow
Can't
process,
be a lot.
or is
Yeah.
he just inhaling that beer through the hot dog somehow? I don't know, but I'd be really interested to find out. Like, if I were presented with the opportunity out of curiosity, I would try it. I
For
absolutely would.
science purposes, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
but you know,
I feel like you'd have to
each
like
to
make a
his
hole in
own.
it though. Like hot dogs don't come with
Yeah,
like the
yeah, you have
ability
to
to.
poke the straw through it. So.
Yeah, that's what I. So, I mean, maybe he was maybe some conspiracy theories. Maybe he wasn't even drinking through the hot dog. Maybe he put the straw so fully in the hot dog that it was just he was drinking out of the straw regularly, and there was no
Yeah,
contact with the
never
hot
know.
dog whatsoever. Maybe that's something for
See,
people to think about. Like
drinking a beer out of a plastic cup with a straw, whether it's surrounded by a hot dog, would
that's a
be
psycho move.
almost as weird as drinking it through a hot dog.
Yep, I think I would probably rather be seen drinking through a hot dog than drinking through a straw
Yeah,
in a plastic beer cup because like I said, you're just asking to be made fun of at that point. Like
yeah. But my biggest thing is how much power was he able to get through that? We
it
don't
couldn't
know,
be a
but
lot.
creative way of beer battering something. So
Sure, yeah.
that's
A
gonna be
plus
the
for
hot trend.
creativity.
I just think people approach it with a very
Closed minded.
lock this guy up,
Yep.
prison immediately, like all the
Mhm.
stupid like cliche shit people do. But I think
What would your
it's
thought be
creative.
though if you were sitting next to that? Like if it was you, like say you go to a Red Sox game, and obviously you know this is something that happens now, but like say you went to the Red Sox game Friday and it was the first time ever, some random guy sat down next to you and just started doing that. You wouldn't be like,
I'd laugh.
what are you doing? But like, I
I'd
don't know.
start
I'd be
laughing.
like, I need to find a new seat. I think this
I'd
guy's.
let
I
him
think,
rock.
yeah.
If he was doing like other weird stuff too, like there are
Mhm.
people that do other weird shit at
Oh,
ballparks and stuff.
absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Um, so I don't know, but I mean, in a world where we see fucking teams have like a burger with like an ice cream sundae and crickets on it for
That's true.
$15,
That's very
like
true.
it really doesn't gross me out that much. Like
Yep.
it really doesn't gross me out at all. Because like, of course, the taste probably isn't great, but like
Mhm.
there are worse things you can eat in this world. And
Absolutely.
he's thinking outside of the box, like I said. I
Yep.
respect it. Other quick notes in moments of the week. We got the Brady and Gronk to Las Vegas stuff. Now we supposedly, I think it's pretty clear cut now, know like the context behind the comments of Brady saying like
Mhm.
you're picking this fucking guy over me.
Yeah, this MFR. Yep.
I think we know it's Derek Carr now, but
Yep. I think it's pretty obvious.
I think
All that
if I'm
speculation can
not
end.
unless I'm mistaken, when the Brady to Miami stuff first came out like months ago, people were like, oh, they're talking about Miami.
I
I
did
remember
think,
people
yeah,
thinking
I
that, but I think
thought
it's
I
Las
saw that
Vegas
because
now.
like that makes sense for Tua. Like you're really going with this guy over. But yeah, it's Vegas, it's Carr, like Gruden again, head case.
Yeah.
So really no surprise there that he was the one that nicks it. Brady and Gronk obviously dodged a bullet with what happened obviously with him. But yeah, kind of crazy that you could have had a completely unstoppable offense. Imagining Brady with Gronk and Waller and Hunter Renfro, the breakout year he had obviously this past season, and then why am I been blanking? I think on one of their other receivers. No, they didn't have Devontae Adams. What am I talking about last year?
Yet, yeah.
But yeah, it would have been crazy to see. Obviously, would have been bad for the Patriots having both of them still in the same conference, but
Yep.
still crazy.
Yeah, just especially like if they kept that together this year, like no saying whether Gronk would keep playing, but Brady to Adams, McDaniels and
That'd be
Ziegler are there
insane.
now.
Yeah.
A bunch of other former Patriots are there now. Brady and Stidham would be together at this point,
That's
potentially.
Mhm.
So that would be funny. But yeah, it's just kind of one of those funny things. what could have been. But I think Brady and Gronk said this, are pretty content with how things have gone.
I'd say so. Yep.
Brady's taken some deserved time off to, vacation lately, even though it's, during training camp. He's Tom Brady, so he's kind of earned that, that, what's the word I'm looking for? The ability to do something like that and take a vacation during training camp if he wants to. So,
are you one of the people do you think it's a vacation, or are you one of the people that there's a slight chance he was on No Masked Singer type of thing? I was holding out hope for that. I really was. Gronk's already been on it. They've had plenty of Fox people on it. I know I saw clips on YouTube. Joe Buck's been on it. Why can't I think of the quarterback's name that's on Fox? A former Steelers quarterback. I can't think of his. Terry Bradshaw. He was on it. I saw. So there's definitely a connection there. Like I said, Gronk, he was on one of the first seasons, I'm pretty sure. Like, just be like, hey, Tom, you want to come do this? Have some fun for a couple weeks. Nobody know what you're doing. And then shock the world when you're revealed to be whatever crazy ass contraption that you're singing out of. But I was holding out hope. But
I wonder,
just a typical vacation.
Somebody from the Masked Singer production crew is there. I think it was a Reddit user that drummed it up, and they're trying to get trying to get more views this year. But look, am I ruling it out? No, I could absolutely see Brady doing this, like 100%. But no, I don't know. If I had to lean one way, I don't think it is. I think he's probably just like, want to go hang out.
Just a boring old vacation. Yeah.
And I mean, anybody getting like super worked up about it, I feel bad for you, but there probably were people out there. The final moment of the week, my like list here I got running. Mason McTavish's save in the gold medal game that eventually, not too long after, led to Kent Johnson scoring the golden goal in overtime for Canada. I mean, regardless of how this ended, like, Canada was the best team this year. Like, I expected them to win. But like, one of the greatest saves in like the history of hockey, not just the tournament, like absolutely bananas. I think it was Casper Pudio who had the shot. He won like best defenseman of the tournament. So to cap it off with the golden goal for Finland would have been crazy. He's a Florida Panthers prospect. He played really good. He was, I watched the World Juniors in bits and pieces because I don't have NHL Network set up at the apartment yet. I'll set that up when the season starts. He's one of the guys that consistently impressed me and, of course, did pretty well to earn best defenseman of the tournament, I believe, or some sort of defensive award. He was robbed. He was shocked. And McTavish bailed his team out. They go up and score. It was just like mind-boggling that he made the save, and just like one of those moments, especially in the Canadian market, like Canadian hockey fans are crazy. That's like never going to be forgotten. Which is absolutely insane. Man, I'm still
don't know what to say. Yeah,
I'm still blown away thinking about it because like at the same time it would have been really cool to see Finland score a golden goal, because anytime you think of a golden goal, you think of Canada. But my God, what a save. And, Kent Johnson caps it off in overtime. The announcer, I think it's Bayak or Biak. I forget how to say his name. Like, it sounded like he was going to throw up as he was talking or have a heart attack. He was so shocked. He's like, oh my God. Like all the emotions running through. Like, if you listen to his voice, it kind of like trembles a little bit. It was funny, but what a moment. I mean, one of the craziest saves I've ever seen. Is it Michael Ryder with the glove?
I was going to ask you that. Where would you rank it? Would you put it above that, or? It's
that level on a different tier because it's so hard to compare them because, Michael Ryder went down and, got in the way of it. Mason McTavish literally saved it with a stick.
Stick handle, right, pretty much out of there.
On the goal line. I think might be the greatest save ever made. Like, I'm not even like exaggerating that much. It was. I'm sure
there's people that would probably agree with you.
With that much on the line, like, would have been the golden goal for Casper Pudio in Finland. Nope. Canada won. They had the best team, so that was just insane. On to yours, and something I am very happy that we're done with.
Relieved. Yep. Just wipe the sweat away. Thank whatever gods you prayed to. And that's Jaylen Brown is here to stay, at least for this season. Let's hope it's for the long term. Kevin Durant is shockingly going to stay in Brooklyn, along with Kyrie Irving, and they'll try to run it back and maybe get a season out of Ben Simmons. Who the hell knows? But yeah, last week we finally found out the Celtics were not going to deal Jaylen Brown in any sort of deal for Kevin Durant. A couple things came out. Obviously, the Celtics, a lot of people made a lot out of this. They put out their, season ticket promo picture package, whatever you want to call it. And it featured both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on it. So I thought Michael Felger had a good point on Boston Sports Tonight. He kind of just put it out there. When teams do that, they don't tend to trade away the guy that is on the flyer to get people into the building to, watch them play. And then I think it was Friday, it might've been, or a couple days ago, Kevin Durant had his trade request rescinded. He met with Nets Governor Joe, I think it's Tsai is how you pronounce that, GM Sean Marks and head coach Steve Nash. Good luck to that organization this year with all the bridges that were seemingly being burned, with Durant saying he didn't want to play for those guys and Kyrie saying he wasn't going to play for Nash, and it was me or Nash and all that stuff. Good on the Brooklyn Nets, I thought, for every time Durant said something like that, whether it was a trade request or threatening to retire or wanting to go somewhere else, the Nets basically said, go screw, we're not giving you any of your requests because, we have sunk in all this time and brought these guys here that you wanted, and now you're going to try to bail on us. Don't think so. So good on that. But the real, again, story is that the Celtics are keeping Jaylen Brown. He's not going anywhere, at least for this season. And that's good because we like Jaylen Brown. And obviously we want to see the Celtics, who were, again, 2 games away from an NBA Finals championship, run it back with the team you have. You've made improvements. You've brought guys in to fill roles that you desperately needed. Give it at least a year to see if it works out. If things maybe fall apart, which we don't think they will, then maybe it's something you explore. But right now, you and I both agree, we talked about this plenty, that it's a deal that wouldn't have made sense for the now and potentially the future down the road.
Yeah, and as an overarching point, it felt like trade requests, reports of varying levels of different crazy trade packages, the Nets wanting so much and not doing it, and then it just got here. Mm-hmm. So I can't blame them because it's like a type of situation. Obviously now it looks a little different, where they never had to trade him, and now they didn't.
Yeah.
And they were just trying to get blown away by a trade offer to do so. Mm-hmm. And like you said, wanted to stand pat, wanted to be like, hey, you put this team together, and now you're trying to pitch out we're not gonna just grant that super easily. Mm-hmm. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna get an absolute king's ransom for our troubles. And they didn't. So yeah, I got to give the Nets credit. It's going to be awesome and terrible that we have to watch this shit show all year with all the drama. Yep. So we'll see how that all pans out. Ben Simmons won't play over 20 games. I think that's a safe
probably
bet.
Not. Yeah.
He might not even reach 10. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses at least 85% of the season somehow. Because he's just born to be a pussy. So
there'll be a game in Philly he'll sit out. There'll be a game in Boston that Kyrie sits out. It's going to be it's just going to be another disaster or just absolute headache for Nets fans. I feel bad for him because you got to deal with this, but it's what happens when you deal with these type of guys. Now, again, kudos to the Nets, because a lot of times when you see stuff like this, teams tend to cave to the superstar, and they didn't. I saw a lot of people were kind of flaming Brooklyn, being like, oh wow, you couldn't trade Durant when you asked for 2 star players and 50 draft picks. That's what they have to ask for a player his caliber. So I get where they're coming from that. And again, kudos to them for not, taking any sort of lesser deal. Good on other NBA teams for not trading away half their team for a guy that is potentially a
first round draft pick.
Exactly. So you kind of mortgage your future for this guy that may or may not stick around after this year. It's a risky thing you run. It's worked out for teams in the past, obviously worked out for Toronto with Kawhi, but Durant's a whole nother animal. You don't know kind of what his mindset is, and we'll see if it works out for them. But again, the main thing is that it works out for Boston because Jaylen Brown is here. I thought it was good at Brad Stevens. He was asked about it on WEI, an interview he did. Reportedly, he met with Brown to discuss everything last week in LA, and he reassured him that a lot of the trade rumors, the Celtics haven't been making any moves or checking in. He said, quote, it's been quiet in Boston's front office for a while. And then Stevens also mentioned, quote, since the Brogdon trade, we felt good about our team. We felt really good about building around these guys we've been building around. So that obviously I think is probably talking about guys like Brown and Tatum and Smart. And, that same thing. 2 thumbs up works for me. Run it back with what you have. Go with the improvements you've made and see if that works out. Because, again, we both think it's going to probably be right now. They're I think betting favorites, to get to the finals, to win the East. They're a lot of people's favorites. And it's, I think, rightfully so, because they've made the moves that they've needed to and haven't done anything drastic like trading away your, all-star caliber, all NBA potential player for a guy that you don't know how it's going to work out. You traded for his teammate a couple years back. You saw how that worked out, and you probably don't want to go through that headache again.
Yeah, and he's 33, he's still very good. He's 33 coming off an injury.
Mm-hmm.
There's not more that can go wrong than right, but like, is it worth what you'd have to give up for the potential of him being like, I want out after a year, which is really possible. Like, you can't rule it out with KD. So you have another Celtics point. The other best player on the team, and some interesting notes about him coming out recently.
Yeah, a friend of mine, I obviously knew about this, but brought this to my attention again the other night and asked for an apology for the Tatum slander that I had during the playoffs because according to the man himself, Jason Tatum, he was dealing with a quote, non-displaced fracture in his wrist. Of course, if you watched any of the playoffs and the finals, you saw Jason Tatum after shots and getting hit was kind of dealing with his wrist and everything. So apparently he was injured. This came from an interview with Bleacher Report's Taylor Rooks. He talked about it. According to Tatum, like I said, he apparently chipped the bone in his wrist. When it healed, according to him, it said it grew over the original spot, causing pain whenever he did anything or got hit or fell on it. Tatum also said in game 3, we talked about it, the Milwaukee dunk where Giannis tried to run him down and kind of ran him over. Tatum said that's really where the most pain he felt was when he got hit on that and fell down. And then I thought the interesting thing too was how obviously he tried to hide this and no one knew about it. He said he'd wear a brace after games and before shoot around would take it off so no cameras or media saw. No one else other than Celtics brass and people within the team knew about the injury. So didn't obviously tell anybody in the media. I don't know if that means that anybody in Tatum's family knew if he was dealing with an injury or not. Not that that's anything we can speculate or talk about. But just found it kind of interesting that Tatum obviously admitted to not being 100%. We kind of saw that. I don't know if you or I feel like I really don't. That he feels like he should have came out and said anything because again, that's not anything to care about. But just found it interesting that it comes out and again now it kind of looks at okay, you kind of know why he had such a bad finals and didn't really look like the confident guy he had been and the potential MVP favorite or candidate that he was the last couple months of the season and into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, good luck trying to keep Jason Tatum. Like if he completely snapped his wrist, is a different story. But like still a bad injury. But like if he could have played through it, he was going to. Like first
absolutely,
very legit opportunity at the finals. Not discrediting any of the past runs, but like as we saw, like they got to the finals, they got really close. So yeah, nobody was stopping Jason Tatum, and I'd have to admire him for playing through this.
Absolutely.
Like think of it too, like no matter how bad of a wrist injury, like you're feeling that every time you catch a hard pass,
absolutely.
Every time you play
everything
defense,
you do,
every time you play defense, anytime you fall and have to break your fall, like that shit sucks.
Yeah, you kind of need your wrists and your hands for basketball. So it's not I don't understand how a bone can heal over a bone like that.
Yeah, it's
just
weird.
Sounds painful. Like again, but like you said, credit to him for playing through it. He obviously never really seemed like a guy that was gonna, bow out at any times or gave off any sort of like, oh, if he's hurt, he's not gonna go out there. Like he's a gamer. Everyone is kind of had the same thought about Tatum, but this just obviously sheds a new light on what kind of made him look not like himself and not like the guy we've grown to know and obviously appreciate being here. So just obviously thought we'd kind of bring that up quickly, just a quick Celtics thing to tie it into the Jaylen Brown stuff. Like you mentioned, the top two guys on the team, both dealing with different things, but it seems like, the sky is, blue. What's the saying I want to use? There's light at the end of the tunnel with this team. All that. Exactly. Greener pastures, moving on. And hopefully, he can be healthy and Brown can put all the trade stuff behind him and the Celtics can go on and have a pretty successful season coming up.
Yeah, exactly. And like, we're not going to go through the whole interview he had, but
no, it was
like just more about like how it affected him and what he had to play through just gives me more and more faith that this team is going to the finals next year and has a really good chance of winning.
Yep.
Whole offseason, like I've been all in. I think they're going to win a championship next year. And just having the fuel to the fire and, being there before now, just more and more shit like this comes out, the more and more confident I'm going to be. So excited about that. What I'm not excited about, honestly, is the Patriots because, things just aren't going. Things are going worse more than they're going better.
Yeah, a lot has gone on since the week we took off. Not a lot of it, really none of it here in the outline has been good. Well, maybe one trade rumor has been good depending on how you think of the player. But we'll start with kind of the main focus of the team of late. We've discussed it a little bit as the preseason and the training camp has gone on. The story, obviously, with the Patriots has been the offense has not looked good. according to a lot of reports yesterday with their joint practice with Las Vegas, the Raiders. The offense did not look good again. This was from Andrew Callahan. He said, quote, "Man, this is bad. The most troublesome offensive practice of summer. Jones 7 for 17 after his 2-minute drill ends in an interception. Run stuff, Aguilar shallow cross completion, incomplete Aguilar on a drop, run stuff, incomplete Myers on a drop, interception." Greg Bedard also had tweets from the practice saying, quote, "Raiders have completely dominated both sides so far. First 3 Patriots snaps and team stuff, sack. Jones 5 of 9 and 7-on-7. Henry reception, only one down the field. Offense looks deflated coming off. Carr sliced up Pats on 7-on-7. Devontae Adams is unfair." And that was the report. Devontae Adams was carving guys up left and right. Take that as you will. It's Devontae Adams. Like, I don't know if you want to read into that the Patriots, their rough-looking secondary is getting beat up by a, superstar caliber wide receiver. If you just want to take that as at face value or anything there. The other Greg Bedard thing, too, is his quote, "It gets worse. Worst offensive practice of camp. Jones picked off to end awful 2-minute. He was pissed and paced sidelines after. Run defense only positive today. Pass defense carved up by Carr, Adams, and Renfro. No Waller." I don't know. Like I just said, I don't know if you feel the same way or differently. It's not going to sound great, but when you have a guy like Devontae Adams out there and a guy like Hunter Renfrow, who had such a great season last year, who has the rapport with Carr, I don't think Derek Carr is a bad quarterback by any means. That's going to happen. Like, the Patriots don't have a number one corner. We've discussed this. Jalen Mills has kind of stepped into that role, but he's not. And I don't think I can speak for you. Either one of our eyes is a number one corner. So to see Devontae Adams go off against the Patriots secondary, I kind of fully expect that, especially if they were playing man, like I think at times they were. It seemed like reports that they were. So that's not a surprising thing to me. Hopefully that's something they can clean up. But your thoughts on kind of the tweets. Zolak also had a thing talking about, this was on Zolak and Bertrand, saying that Matt Patricia called the offense together for a talking to after, their offense struggled. And it was Mac Jones who stepped up after that and broke the team down after a poor offensive period. So good there to see that Jones is taking, obviously being the second-year quarterback, taking some, obviously stepping up, like Zolak said, and I'm taking the reins, I guess, for lack of a better term. Again, I don't know, Matt Patricia's running the offense. Things are struggling. It's all starting to snowball, it seems like. And it's a little concerning with it being the last, obviously joint practice, the last preseason game coming up. There's still a couple weeks to go before the season starts, but you'd like these things to be getting better, and it just doesn't seem like there's any signs that they are. I don't know. How concerned are you, I guess, as we finally get to the question here I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, I'm pretty concerned.
Okay. Scale of 1 to 10, what are you putting it at?
Like a 7.
Okay.
So, look, they're playing against Devontae Adams. That's the main guy. So, obviously, they're going to be torn up. It also highlights that they have a problem that was easily predictable. Their secondary.
Yep. The lack of. They don't have one.
You have Jawan Williams out for I think the season now. Malcolm Butler out for the season. That doesn't make things any better.
Mm-hmm.
Their secondary is going to get cooked this year. Like, any good team, any good quarterback is going to cook their secondary.
Yep.
And this is the point of the preseason. I'd be hoping things would be going better. And of course, they're playing a really solid quarterback, not like an elite quarterback,
mm-hmm.
but and
he gets the job done.
Definitely an elite receiver. Hunter Renfrow is very good too.
Yep.
Like, you'd be hoping to hear a little bit better, but it's more so to the point, not for me like, oh, they're getting torn up by this guy. It's that their shortcomings and their lack of depth is being highlighted, and
mm-hmm.
it's giving us a glimpse into what the season is going to be like against good quarterbacks with good receivers.
Yep.
Like,
it's gonna be
they're going to get cooked.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get cooked. And last year, the front half of the defense hasn't changed a ton. Like, Hightower's gone. You haven't lost huge big pieces, and they weren't a amazing pass rush attack last year. You're relying on younger guys.
mm-hmm.
What is your defense going to be able to do on a consistent basis? And then you have the offense. Like, Mac Jones doesn't have time at certain times. I'm saying this from an outsider's perspective because I haven't been at camp every day like some people out there in the media and whatever. But
mm-hmm.
it seems like Mac Jones isn't getting the time he needs consistently enough. He's just not exonerated the blame here. And there's
mm-hmm.
disconnect, frustration. I don't like this at all.
No,
I don't care if it's a preseason.
Not
I
a
don't
positive
like this at all. and it goes in with my expectations of the season. I don't think it's going to be a good season. I'd be very surprised if this team even wins 9 games. I think they win around 6 to 8 games this year.
Yep.
And it's not going to go good. But, that was some of my discussions in the past has been like before the whole Deshaun Watson 6-game, now 11-game suspension. That probably adds a win to the schedule.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I had this conversation with a couple kids from work yesterday. Like the Browns game, you probably win now.
Even though I think Nick Chubb could just run all over them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Very possible.
And whatever happens with Kareem Hunt, he's at an interesting offseason with the trade request that just wasn't granted and how often he'll be involved. And they have Amari Cooper now. This is a Browns team that didn't have Amari Cooper last year, so you have to factor for him.
Keep forgetting that.
I don't care who's throwing to him. And Donovan Peoples-Jones sounds like he's improving from all accounts. So, I don't see this team, no matter how they can clean it up, winning more than 10 games. I think 10 is the absolute max. I'm looking at like 7, 8, 9.
Yep.
With 7.
That's what I got him at. Yep.
Like, it's not good, man. And it all could have been, less shitty if you hired an offensive coordinator.
Got it. Actually knew what he was doing. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, JC Jackson's hurt now and he, got big money. So you let him go for certain reasons, but like, you don't have him now. This is your first season without JC Jackson and Stephon Gilmore for in a long time.
That's what I mean. You're relying on 2 rookies pretty much. Cause I mean, I've heard both rookie again, it's Jones and I can never remember the second guy's name.
Both Jones.
That's right. That's the running joke.
There's 4 Jones on the
That's
team.
right. Yeah.
At least we'll lead in that. Well, at least we'll lead in the Jones.
Exactly. But that's kind of the thing. It's like, it feels like you're banking on these 2 guys to step up into roles that maybe they're not. I know it's early, but like you said, yes, you don't want to read too much into the preseason, but when there's so many holes and so many question marks on this team, like you're kind of torn of how do you want to feel about this. The thing too, you mentioned about, the offensive line in particular, about how you're not down there, but you see the reports, and obviously I've seen them too, of, Jones is running for his life, doesn't have time. It'd be one thing if, the reports coming out where, he has time to throw, but he just can't connect with guys, or you're having receivers drop the ball. But every report that comes out seems to be either that he's running for his life, or something the Patriots did really well, obviously last year. Their entire offense was built around their run. All these run stuffs that are happening, like if you can't run the football, and again, Mac Jones isn't getting protected and the protection's breaking down, he's running for his life, like you are in so deep of shit, it's not even funny, because now, like I said, your entire offense is going to collapse and you're going to have nothing to fall back on like you were able to last year with your run game that worked so well. And if that's not working, then you are really, really screwed here. And that's why, again, it's the preseason. You don't want to read in too much into it, but there's definite concerns here. And again, you'd like going into the last preseason game, some glimmer of hope or something to, click and okay, this might work this season going forward. But it seems like there isn't any sort of report coming out that, this worked well today, or the offense clicked in this spot. Like, it's just been all negative, and it's not anything that, gets you hyped up for the season, clearly, as we have them being a 7 or 8 win team, 9 if they're lucky.
Yeah. It's just the thing that sucks too. Like, you talk about the running game. I keep seeing things over the past couple of weeks that Kevin Harris isn't even going to make the team. One of the running backs that you drafted.
That's him, and the other. Is it Pierre Strong?
On the practice squad. I haven't heard a thing about.
That's
Pierre
what I
Strong,
mean. Neither one of them.
Negative reflection on him, but nobody's talking about him. And you lose Ronnie Perkins, who you might have hoped would have been a guy that can step in and get going. As a young player, he's out for the year. I don't like where things are going at all. I don't.
It doesn't seem like there's a direction, or and again, that's kind of been the theme the last just this offseason in general. And again, I feel like make you a little worried for this season that things are not going to whatever the plan might be according to plan, and who knows how that's going to work out. Maybe again, there is still a preseason game to play. That too, that definitely clouds things up a little bit more.
He might have missed the start of the season if he stuck around, but you're hoping to have him at some point. Like, my glimmer of hope the past, when thinking about the Patriots the last couple of weeks, though, is if it doesn't work out like the first 2-3 weeks, I do think Belichick's gonna be like, all right, I got to take over on offense. Like, we can't go with this freaking circus every week if we want to have a chance of making the playoffs, which, for obvious reasons, I expect that they want to do.
It's probably the goal.
I don't like the disarray at all. It's practically all been predictable for months.
Yep. That's what I mean.
It's unfolding in front of our eyes.
That's what makes it so aggravating is you can see the writing on the wall. We discussed it in the offseason when we multiple times we were like, when is this team going to get an offensive coordinator? And then when they bring Patricia back and bring Judge back, we're like, all right, if they name one of these guys the OC, like then they're really in trouble. And now obviously neither one of them has been, officially named it. And you're seeing, again, you're reaping what you sow here with these kind of boneheaded decisions that you've been, making and not making. And it's coming back to hurt you. Again, there's a preseason game left to play. So maybe they figure some things out. Everyone always talks about the first month of the season for the Patriots is always an extended preseason. They hit their stride midway through the season and whatnot. But again, can you really afford with so many question marks and so many holes? Can you afford to do that this year and get off to a slow start and then kind of, bury yourself in a league that is looking as competitive as it has in quite some time? We talked about it in the offseason with all the moves that were made. And again, the Raiders are a team that looks pretty deadly now with the moves they made in the offseason. Teams have gotten much better around you and you're kind of sitting in a middle spot here where you don't really know what direction you're going in.
Yeah, and it puts pressure on you too because you spent all this money last year and it didn't all work. Especially Jonnu Smith didn't work. You have a lot of pressure to continue to make these big additions work and hopefully propel you to the playoffs. Be big contributor. So there's a lot of pressure on the team in a lot of different ways, and I hate it. I really don't like it.
Yeah. I don't know how you could be positive about it or how you could like it. If you do like it, you have to be some sort of psychopath and just enjoy other people's pain and suffering. But who knows? You talked about additions. One addition that probably was going to make the team because he was having a good camp. Again, the injury bug bites the Patriots. Kind of tough. The Tyquan Thornton suffered what appeared to be a shoulder injury in the Carolina preseason game a week ago on Friday. Turned out it was much worse. He ends up suffering a fractured collarbone, according to Mike Giardi of NFL Network. The belief is he's going to miss around 8 weeks. I've seen some people, Jeff Howe said 8 to 10. Alex Barth, the 98.5 The Sports Hub, he said, quote, while every injury is different, NFL players have returned to play following broken collarbones in recent years. The best comp for Thornton is probably wide receiver Will Fuller, who broke his collarbone in practice in early August of 2017. He ended up missing the first 3 regular season games, about 9 weeks total from the time of his injury that year before returning. Again, sucks because he was a guy that the Patriots were probably going to, maybe not probably lean heavily on, but there was a lot of high hope because he was a receiver that they drafted early. There was the speed element that they didn't have. He was a guy that was having a good camp, according to all reports, and was, opening up the field when Mac Jones had time to throw the football. And it just sucks that now a guy that looked like he was going to have a pretty bright rookie season and maybe be leaned on a little more heavily than we might have thought at the start is not going to be able to start the season. Again, roughly estimating his return. A lot of people seem to think week 8 against the Jets. Pats also have a bye in week 10, so maybe they push him back after that. Any overall thoughts on the Thornton injury? You kind of as down as I am because I was, I didn't hate the pick, but was obviously questioning it. Didn't know a lot about the kid. There were some people we talked about it that thought maybe he was a reach, but everything seemed to be pointing that he was, going to work out at least the start and was having a good camp. And now that's kind of been snuffed out with this unfortunate injury.
Yeah, it just goes back into everything. You're having offense troubles.
Almost back in.
Now you lose your second round pick, who is, going to be a part of the future, or at least, the short term. As a rookie this year, he's going to miss a good chunk of the start of the season. Not great, but
there's missing the start of the season, and then there's obviously the people don't maybe consider the time it might take to get back. I mean, we saw that happen with N'Keal Harry when he got hurt. It took him a while after he came back to even in his rookie year make some sort of impact with the Patriots, if he made any at all. But it's not like when he comes back, he's going to be right back up to speed and ready to go. It's going to take a couple extra weeks for him to get back into, game form or however you want to discuss it and however you want to term it. So this is probably more than an 8-week injury. Again, maybe you push him back until the bye week and try to have him come back after that. But then you're looking at him and you got 7 to 8 weeks left in the season to figure out what he is. So it just kind of derails his whole season. It's not like it's a couple week thing where he can come back pretty hopefully quickly and make an impact. It's going to linger and it's something you're going to have to deal with probably the entire season, let alone the reported 8 weeks that he's going to be out.
Yeah, it can always linger, which is what I'm worried about. But yeah, I mean, I was even with all the craziness going on, the things I don't like, Tyquan was one of the few things I was really excited.
Yeah, one of the few bright spots. Yep.
And now he's hurt, unfortunately. And yeah, it's not fun.
Doesn't work out. Train keeps rolling. Again, this is maybe a positive. I don't know. You and I are not a huge fan of this player, but it's a move I wouldn't really understand. The reports that the Patriots are apparently shopping Isaiah Wynn around. This is from Burt Breer. It's a quote, New England's really tight on the cap. My sense is they'd like to use a surplus. They might have one position or another to alleviate that and maybe pick up a draft pick or two. I also said one guy I know definitely that they have talked about with other teams is Isaiah Wynn, their first round pick from 2018. Wynn, though, is on a $10.4 million fifth-year option, which has made it tough to move a guy who 4 years after was drafted is still seen as a tackle/guard tweener. That you've said that in the past, like the Patriots don't seem to know what they want to do with this guy or where he should play. You've mentioned it multiple times where you'd move him to. It looked like they were trying that. Then they've kind of moved back and forth. Wynn's tenure in New England has not been great. This is from Nick Goss on NBC Sports Boston. Of course, he said, quote, Wynn has missed 34 of the Patriots' 65 regular season games since being drafted in the first round, 21st overall in 2018. I knew he was hurt a lot. I didn't realize he missed pretty close to half of their games. Like, that's definitely not going to cut it. But then again, it's Isaiah Wynn. Like, that's probably something to you that doesn't come as a surprise. I don't know. Like, the tackle position to me doesn't look like it's that deep. Like we talked about a little bit off air that you think if they move him, could move there. Like, is that a guy you trust to be your starting left tackle? Like Haran has had time there, but he has struggled.
Well, Brown will be left tackle.
Sorry. That's right. And then right tackle to move. But either way, do you trust either of those guys if you more than you would maybe trust Isaiah Wynn? I know he's a shaky name and a guy that we've crapped on plenty of times, but to me right now, it doesn't seem like, especially with how bad the offensive line has looked and how, the struggles that they have had, why would you subtract a piece from that his, you pretty much know what he is at this point.
Yeah. What I'm hoping for at this point is if they keep Wynn around at right tackle, I want to see Isaiah Wynn and Kajust or
kind of split time.
I think it's Kajust, but I don't know.
I've heard
good
both,
things about him.
Yeah.
Over the past couple of weeks, he had a couple good moments in that one game as well. I think it's worth giving him reps, throughout the season to, see if he can translate it to game action in the regular season. Because, I believe he's a third round pick. You place a decent draft asset on him. You want to see what you can get out of him. I kind of think if they trade Isaiah Wynn, it's going to be towards the deadline. Like if
that would make more sense. Yeah.
Loses a tackle or maybe somebody sees him as a guard and they lose a guard and want to upgrade the guard and position. I don't know. I doubt anybody would do that. I feel like they'd see him like someone loses one of their starting tackles. They, send a player. Maybe if they don't want to take on like the 10 million exactly, they send a player worth like half of that or something to the Patriots. Maybe it's another lineman. So it's like not just completely adding $10.4 million to your cap.
Yep.
Or it's just like the Patriots get like a fifth round pick for him or something. Because they're not going to get a high draft pick because he's not good, but he's injury prone, but he also, makes a pretty penny for a guy that's just not worth it. So it's a situation where I'd see it happening more towards the trade deadline, if ever. I think, of course, this signals, something we've kind of been hoping for a little while that, after this season, I just don't see him sticking around.
Oh, I think he's gone. I think.
And yeah, if you can trade him, you should, because getting anything for him is good if you're not going to keep him. And especially if you're bad to start the season and maybe you can get a depth tackle back, or you're confident Kajust or Haran, maybe. I'm not especially confident in either of those guys, but there's some ability that can be tapped into. Each of them has shown, glimpses. Arlington Hambright's around too. I don't know really anything about him, but maybe he's in the mix. Jasir Durant, definitely not confident in him.
Yeah, I know. Like,
he's bad, like just simply not good. And it's a guy you traded like a 7th round pick for, so nobody should really be surprised. Yeah, I think they should trade Isaiah Wynn if they can, because I'm sick of him. I've been sick of him for years.
I'll say you have been get him out of my face for quite some time. Like,
yeah, and another thing that goes into like keeping him around and potentially, hopefully, ideally getting more for him is, if you keep him a right tackle and that's where he thrives, like he looks more comfortable than he did on the left, maybe he does have some trade value and some team is willing to take that on. Maybe just a team with a ton of cap space is like, we want to upgrade our line and we'll take on Isaiah Wynn and they like him. there's a chance that Isaiah Wynn comes back, does good, becomes a tradable asset, and you move. So I like that idea. I really don't see a trade happening before the season, but
yeah, like you said, the timing just wouldn't make a lot of sense. Like,
yeah, but
again, with especially as much turmoil you've had. That's fair. Like, I guess, do your due diligence, or can't pronounce that. Okay, so you would trade Isaiah Wynn in the right trade. The other trade rumor that has come up, another one that I just don't understand. Would you trade Kendrick Bourne? Because Phil Perry sees Kendrick Bourne, according to reports, he's discussed him. Teams have called the Patriots saying if they would potentially move him. Greg Bedard, the other day, he was discussing it. He said, quote, he absolutely sees Bourne as a trade candidate if he's not happy in the offense, because there's a little bit of a rumor there. Bedard also went on to say, which depending on who you talk to, people indicate that he hasn't exactly been thrilled with the offense for a while. There was obviously the reports of Bourne having the dust up in the Panthers camp last week, which to a lot of people led to his benching in that Panthers game. He never played, did make the trip. He made the trip in Vegas as practice, so maybe you'll see him in this game coming up. But it's been kind of a weird offseason, or just not an offseason, a weird training camp for Kendrick Bourne. He's another guy you haven't really heard a ton about, which is a little surprising, seeing how good of a first year he had with New England last year and how well he seemed to gel with Mac Jones. They seem to obviously really come on strong together late in the season. But now with Devontae Parker here, with obviously Myers stepping up into a bigger role this year, probably with Thornton before he got hurt, he was taking a lot of reps. Bourne's kind of fallen into no man's land, it seems, a little bit. Is he a guy you would trade, or is he a guy that you're like me? I'm, for the reasons I mentioned, a little confused as to why Kendrick Bourne is the guy that might have his foot out the door. The Patriots may be trying to get him out the door via some sort of trade.
Yeah, I think partially they're pissed at him. So, I mean, he's been acting like an idiot for the past couple of weeks, which is something I never thought I'd say, because he's always super positive and
seems like a even keel guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised, and I really hope it doesn't end in a trade, because, I mean, the guy had 800 yards last year too, and he was an asset in the backfield every once in a while.
Yep.
And you need some guys that are familiar with Mac Jones going into a second year. But like when it comes down to, receivers that have been trade options, he's a more tradable asset than Aguilar. He makes less money. He's younger. I'd say he's better
year
right now.
Yep. I'd say so too. Absolutely.
If you want to factor in his contract year, you could say Aguilar is better, when he had that really good season with the Raiders. But especially right now, too, with Thornton hurt and the injury potentially lingering, I don't know if
what's going on?
Something's going on outside. Doesn't sound good. I just don't like the idea of trading a receiver in a deal where I don't expect you to get a receiver back. I think you'd get like a draft pick and maybe like a 5th round pick and a 7th round pick, or like a conditional 7th. I don't like that idea. Like, I don't think the Patriots are going to have like a super successful season, but like, I want to keep guys around Mac in the right, in the right ways, the right trade opportunities. You're not going to just hold on to everybody because they know Mac. We want to keep him around Mac. If you can trade a guy like Wynn, you can trade a guy like Bourne in the right deal. I wouldn't want to. You can, but especially with Thornton's injury now, I don't think it's in your best interest to trade.
Absolutely. Yep. You kind of handcuff yourself if you do that.
If you can get rid of Aguilar, please do. Like,
yeah.
I'm not ready to give up on him yet, but like
he's reportedly had a good camp, so it's like there is a little hope for Aguilar. It seems like going into this season, but again, to the naked eye, you would say if you had to trade one of those two guys, you trade Aguilar. But like you mentioned, the contract situation, the year he had last year, Bourne is the more suitable asset for a lot of teams. But
yeah,
again, I'm with you. Like, it's a guy, Mac. And again, same thing that you mentioned. Like, if you can trade a guy, like, you're not going to keep him around just because he's buddies with Mac Jones. But on the flip side of that, like, I don't know what kind of precedence it sets to trade a guy that Jones, obviously seemingly gelled with so much last year, like I said, and seemed to enjoy being around. They were always the two guys, laughing it up on the sideline or dancing on the sideline and win. So it's like the guy he's obviously close with. I don't know what kind of image that would send to Jones, or what he would think if you trade, one of his, top targets, top, buddies in the team, however you want to look at it, and however he looks at Kendrick Bourne.
Yeah, I really don't think it's in their best interest.
No, not the slightest.
So. But I mean, it'd be pretty shocking if Belichick did it. But Belichick
wouldn't surprise you though. I mean, he's pulled the rug out from under you before. So
yeah, I don't know. I think it could cause more problems than it would solve.
I
So
100% agree with you.
yeah, like
But
let Bourne build on what happened. Let it start this week. Give him an opportunity to redeem himself this week. You
mhm.
know, the Raiders are not a team with an especially lethal secondary, and they're not going to be playing every starter. Let him get back in your good graces. If you feel the need to trade him at some point, leading up to the deadline or somehow before the season, do so. But I don't think this is a guy that should be in a rush to trade. But I mean, the guy's not doing himself any favors with all this crap with the
No,
Panthers.
it doesn't seem like it.
But
Yeah.
I mean, the Panthers have been instigating shit all week.
Yeah, it's
Talking trash on the sidelines, late hits. I mean, what Bourne did was stupid to the second time to get involved, but like Bailey Zappi throws a pick six in a friggin' preseason game, and they have like 15, 20 guys running the field, like yelling at fans. So like, just a loser franchise. Like, yeah, enjoy winning 5 games this year,
yeah.
and
Yep.
you're starting running back getting hurt for like 14 of them because he does
Yep.
every single year. Like, nothing against Christian McCaffrey, but like the guy's played 10 games in the past 2 seasons. Like, your team sucks. Maybe try and like be good instead of being dickheads. I don't know. Just me. You did
Just
all
a
that.
thought. Yeah.
You did all that to lose to
Yep.
the Patriots last week. So like, I don't know. Kind of seems like you guys are idiots, but like,
And now you just need Baker Mayfield as your starting quarterback.
yeah,
The lesser of two evils when it comes to
and
him or Sam Darnold. Like,
if that doesn't work out, you've Sam Darnold.
yeah.
Sucks.
Yep.
Or PJ Walker, guy's not necessarily a sure thing by any means. And Matt
Mhm.
Corral's not an option. Liz Frank injury.
Yep, he's done for the year. Yep, that's unfortunate. But
Have fun, Carolina. Have fun. You won't. Spoiler alert. Anything else with Patriots and football we want to get
no,
to?
just like I said, try to factor in one positive thing with the Patriots, but it was tough to do so. There was not a lot of positivity when it came to the previous week. Maybe there'll be more, like you said, with the preseason game on Friday. We'll get an answer if this offense has any sort of life or anything in it, or like you said, maybe Kendrick Bourne will get the chance to go off and get put, taken out of the doghouse apparently. But of course, we'll have to wait and see on all that.
Yeah, and one final thing, it was cool to see, all the former Patriots on the Raiders and teammates like hanging out. They put out a video, really hanging out and talking, having a good time. Guys being dudes.
Completely different atmosphere from the like you said, the following week with the fights every 2 seconds, and now you get guys hugging and
an atmosphere that Belichick loves. He has been very complimentary of the Raiders practice facility. I think I heard someone say he compared it to the Taj Mahal, which is tough to get that out of Bill Belichick. So
absolutely,
must be pretty nice down there. So I think their field is in Henderson, which is actually where the Golden Knights AHL affiliate plays. So I think it's somewhere near Vegas. Like, I think I heard somebody say in some podcast recently it's like 10 miles away or something from their stadium. So must be pretty nice out there. So very hot though. I wouldn't want to live out there.
No chance. Yeah.
God no. Bruins, as we get closer and closer to the season, last time we talked, it was 2 days after they made a trio of signings. Not a ton has happened there, but the World Juniors did recently wrap up, as we talked about the McTavish stuff earlier. Kent Johnson's golden goal. The Bruins did have some prospects in the World Juniors this year. Fabian Lysell, most notably, scored a goal against Austria from the goal line, which is ridiculous, right over the goalie's shoulder. I'm sure you saw that. That was just a ridiculous goal. Scores that wraparound. That hustles the defender, makes a quick, succinct wraparound around the net, buries it, finishes the tournament with 2 goals and 4 assists, 6 points. Sadly, I'll have it for the World Juniors in the winter this year, but do not have the NHL Network in the cable package yet. So once I do that, I'll have more access to the World Juniors in the future. But kind of trying to find bootleg streams online. Had some better luck some nights, some bad luck, others. So overall, I liked Lysell, what I saw. And I heard at points it wasn't like the best for him. Kind of seems like he's still not like struggling, but a little less willing to get to like the hard ice in the middle. Like, he's kind of a perimeter player at times, but at the same time, there are multiple highlights, him battling for pucks. We saw it on the wraparound goal too. Like, he is willing to do it. He's just, I think with time, he's going to get more comfortable with the physical aspects of things. And for a smaller guy that, has put on some weight this off season, I think he's going to continue to build on those things, and kind of adds to my point. Like, I want to see him in Providence. I want him to building these things in Providence. I don't want it to be thrust in right away.
Mhm.
But I mean,
That was
a 6-point tournament and a bronze medal is not too bad.
I was just gonna ask because you mentioned not wanting to get basically like to the nitty gritty. So I was gonna ask like, oh great, we're gonna have to listen to people again and be like, oh, we have a guy like they kind of did with Pasternak when he first started, if I remember correctly, where it's like,
Exactly.
oh, he's
Look how things worked out with Pasternak.
yeah, exactly. Like
okay.
it's going pretty well. I mean, it might not be going well, as we'll get to that in a little later, but as of right now, from a skill set and standpoint, it's worked out pretty well for a guy that's not the most physical person on the planet. Pasternak's obviously developed that, like you mentioned. I'm sure Lysel is not going to have any sorts of problems getting that aspect of his game better or improved, like you said, with a stint in Providence or two.
He's got
as the
some
season goes on
nastiness too. Like we saw, he gave I think a Finnish player a pretty healthy whack. They were going at it at one point. Yeah, I've seen clips throughout his WHL season this year. He'll get in there. He'll goof around after the whistle, get in the muck a little bit.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. He's a smaller guy. He'll have to get more and more acclimated to the physical aspects of the game. But there are times at points throughout this tournament and throughout. You're seeing highlights through his WHL season with Vancouver this past year, where he does get to the hard areas. He does work hard, and he doesn't just shy away from everything. So if he continues to build on things, I think his development. He's 19, like he's got time,
Plenty of time. Yep.
and yeah, it was it wasn't super sunshine and rainbow filled for Pasternak right away. He always had the skill, but it took him some time to get comfortable. And once he bulked up, he got better. I think Lysel's going to follow a similar path. So we'll see what happens. He could very realistically go down and he plays 30 AHL games, he's got like 24 points. Like I could absolutely see that. I think he's going to be fine. It's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, but it was good to get a bit of a glimpse of him in the summer. We're not used to World Junior Summer hockey, so it's good to get a glimpse at him. And seems put together some highlights. Not too bad. He had one really nice assist in particular. I'm forgetting who he set up, but pretty solid from what I can gather. Very happy, and getting a bronze medal is always cool.
Yep.
Riley Durant, former 6th-round pick, point per game player in 5 games for Team USA on the 4th line. So like that's good.
That works. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll take it. He's playing with like Red Savage, who coolest name ever, and Sasa Pashujov. So a pretty interesting 4th line. You got the big body and Pashujov, and you got a guy named Red Savage. That's a fun 4th line.
Yep.
He was at once tied in points with Logan Cooley on the team after like 4 games. Logan Cooley, for anybody who didn't know, went 3rd overall in the draft this year. So pretty good.
Yep. Good company.
Very happy with Riley Durant. He's going to be a sophomore at Providence. Looking forward to monitoring his development. Him and Philip Svedbach will be there. The Bruins goalie draft pick from last year. Svedbach will be an incoming freshman. So we'll see how much he gets time in the net this year for them and how Durant does. But pretty impressive for him to get on the roster in the first place and then go point per game. Unfortunately, the U.S. didn't medal. They lost to the Czech Republic to get, into that mix for a medal. But, Riley Durant played pretty good. So I'll take it. He's a 6th-round pick looking pretty good and, could have a big season at Providence this year. Get some more playing time and we'll see what happens. And finally, I still don't know how to say his first name, whether it's Dans or Dons, but I'm calling him Dons because I like saying that more.
Yep.
Dons Lokmelis for Team Latvia. 2 points in 5 games doesn't blow you away, but never heard anything like super poor. Didn't really, catch him a lot. But it's good to just see him get some international play and, as a 4th-round pick, you get what you can get. And he had a goal and an assist. So not too bad for Dons, probably be in the mix for them down the road. So we'll see what happens there. I forget if he's in Latvia or Austria now, actually, but let me check real quick. Dons, my boy Dons. He's got a brother named Ingus.
Oh, Jesus.
Ingus Lokmelis. He is
very creative names.
Yeah, he is Latvian. Okay. Just wanted to double check that. And just for reference, got some, stats from the team. Their respective teams being Lysel and Durant. Durant was 7th on the team in scoring, but in front of him, Luke Hughes, 4th overall pick, Logan Cooley, former 3rd overall pick, Matt Coronado, 1st rounder of the Flames last year, stud shooter, Carter Mazer, 3rd rounder of the Red Wings. You have Thomas Bordeleau, guy probably should have been a 1st rounder, went early 2nd round to the Sharks a couple years ago, going to be on the Sharks this year. and you have Landon Slaggert, who I believe was like a 4th or 5th round pick a few years ago. Pretty good surrounding company for a 6th round pick, I'd say. And then you had Lysell was second on his team in points. So shout out to Lysell showing up as we would have expected. I was freaking out when he scored that goal because one of the, I didn't catch a lot of Sweden, but it was one of the few times I caught like a chunk of a game and he sniped and I was freaking out in my kitchen watching it. So just a sick goal. He finishes behind Emil Andre, who was arguably the best defenseman in the whole tournament. Some might say he's way up there who had 8 points in 7 games. The Flyers prospect. Lysell was just behind him with 6 points. So second on Team Sweden in scoring. Not too bad. Not too bad for Fabian. But yeah, just a little World Juniors recap wrapped up a little while ago. But I figured we talk about it because the Bruins did have some representation. Onto a different aspect of the Bruins, and that's what they're going to do with their top 6 with the injuries to start, namely in this case being Marchand. The plan seems to be for Montgomery to run out Zacha, Bergeron, DeBrusk, and Hall, Krejci, Pastrnak. I'm pretty cool with it. What about you?
I'm a little surprised that Hall wasn't getting the shot on the first line with Bergeron and DeBrusk because obviously, what was it, the check line? Everyone's been coining it. If it would have been Zacha, Krejci, the check, yeah.
As I coined last episode.
Yep. So I was a little surprised maybe they're not going with that, but like you have in the outline, it kind of makes sense that Zacha is the guy that is probably going to get moved when Marchand comes back. You start Hall on the second line with Krejci and Pastrnak to get, the familiarity there. I mean, obviously they have it with Krejci playing a couple of years ago, but just, build off of that. It wouldn't make sense to kind of jerk Hall back and forth. So I'm perfectly fine with it. Like Zacha's a guy that obviously you expect to have some sort of production when he gets here, when he starts playing. Like that's obviously going to help and be impacted playing with Bergeron. So no complaints with, anything that they're doing right now.
Yeah, you go like to the option. It's really a win-win in a way because like you could have the check line as the second line, but you can also have the second line together to start with that you're probably going to run the large majority of the season.
Yep.
And then you can just move Zacha down, put Marchand up on the left, DeBrusk stays on the right. Very cool with it. And it's interesting too, because like, I don't think anybody's really talked about it. If they like Zacha on line 1 and it gets to a point where they need to move DeBrusk down, they feel like to the third line, left wing, and keep Zacha can play the right. So if they ever get to the point where they like Marchand, Bergeron, Zacha, and that works, that, might not be good for contract negotiations if Zacha plays there a lot and goes off. You have to pay him more than you might expect. But it gives you an option because if you ever need to put Zacha with Bergeron in a fully healthy picture, say somebody goes down on the right and Zacha needs to hop up and you really want him there instead of DeBrusk for whatever reason. He's got that familiarity with Bergeron. That's good if you need it because he's not just going to go in like a dry run playing with Patrice Bergeron like Brad Marchand. Obviously, in the beginning of the season, he wouldn't be playing with Brad Marchand, but to have that familiarity with Bergeron can be beneficial. So
yeah, it's definitely not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, you gave yourself options. You have a guy. You traded him for Eric Holla. And Eric Holla didn't have that like right wing flexibility. So you got a younger player, a big body, a guy that can, get to the gritty areas, get to the front of the net, score goals and tight. So we'll see how it works, but I like the look. I do imagine this isn't going to be like a permanent thing. I do think we'll see like Hall with Bergeron, DeBrusk, Hall with Bergeron and Pastrnak. They'll see some different combinations, but very cool with this combination right now. And of course, with all these different combinations, we do still have the idea of the Zacha, Krejci, Pastrnak, the check-in line. Yep. So lots of fun possibilities. Even missing, your best all-around winger on the team, could be in a much worse spot. So
yeah, that's the only thing I was going to add too. Is it like I said, it's not a bad problem to have when you have these injuries. You have a guy that, like you mentioned, is more versatile. It seems like you can afford to move up and down the lineup if you have to, and doesn't seem like at least it's going to hurt you in any way, shape, or form, at least to start.
And the good thing too, like, I'm not going to crap on fans too much here, but I saw so much talk last year, like at certain times about like, I'll put Charlie Coyle on the right wing. Now we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't do that to begin with
anyway. In a fully healthy picture, you got Zacha, Pastrnak, DeBrusk, Hall in your top 6. Like, hopefully the idea of that is gone. Because, I like Charlie at times. We've seen him very minimally on the wing, but it's just not where he's meant to be.
Nope.
He's much more comfortable at the center position, his natural position. So I like how the team looks. I like, cool to see Montgomery as well showing up to, show support for the Jimmy Fund as well as a new guy in town.
That was cool.
So, yeah. I'm excited about the start of the season, even missing, Marshawn. Then, of course, you have McAvoy and Grizzly on the back is a different story. But, yeah, it just, when you're fully healthy, it gives you a nice segue. You can just push Hala down, let him start to build that chemistry probably with Coyle and Smith on the third line. So, when Marshawn comes back. But not all is great because I don't know if any, a ton of people out there know who these guys are, but Andy and Rono, they put out the stat cards with all these, metrics and percentages on them. I've never really seen them tweet out like scoops, but they kind of seem like they seem like pretty genuine guys, and they wouldn't just be doing this if they didn't have a reason to. Tweeted yesterday at 3:32 in the afternoon. The Boston Bruins would like to re-sign David Pastrnak this offseason already, but according to our source, Pastrnak is in no rush to sign an extension. Not so good news for Boston. He's got a reason to, want to wait this out because, money isn't a huge thing for him, but, if he drops 50 goals this year, he can get more money than he would right now.
Yep.
And I think he really does want to see what the future is like. It just comes back to that.
Yep.
And I am worried about it. I definitely am, more so than I was like a month or two ago. But it can still get done. We talked about, McAvoy signed a training camp deal last year, different, player, different position. But there's also the other point that, Ty Anderson made today. Dan Lifshatz tweeted, Felger thinks Pasta is saying so he's on his way out the door. Ty said, I honestly think we're entering the source stage of the negotiations, similar tones and tenor around this time back in 2017, and it ended in a camp deal, before Pastrnak he's referring to. I've said it before, but I think concern should start if camp comes and goes without a deal. I agree. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. I'm more concerned at the, it goes back to, speaking of Ty, he talked to Don Sweeney a couple months ago, and they said they were going to be extremely aggressive in trying to bring him back. And we really still haven't heard a ton about financials.
Yep.
A ton if we're getting close. If, best case scenario, if things were going to start getting imminent soon, like they could, that type of territory, they could get things done soon. But things are adding up. Things are adding up. The more and more we wait, the is going to concern people.
Just going to say that. Yep. The more this goes on, the more this lingers, and the more maybe again, rumors, or if these reports are true that start to come out, you're going to feel worse and worse about this. And I'm with you. I get where Ty Anderson's coming from. It's one of those wait and see. And if you get closer to the season and you still don't have an extension, then you have something to really worry about type of things. But like you said, on the flip side, there was all this talk about, like you mentioned, they want to be aggressive and they want to get something done, but then you just haven't really seen that be proactive in any sort of way. It makes you a little more worried than maybe you would have been, like you said, a couple weeks ago. But again, I'm with you. I understand where Pasternak's coming from if he doesn't want to get this done soon, because he's a great player. Yeah. But say they bow out in the first round again this year, don't make the playoffs. And now it's another year of, is Bergeron coming back? Is Krejci going to come back? Can guys fully heal from their injuries? Is Marchand going to come back and be 100%, or is he going to struggle? And, maybe, again, you go further down the line and maybe you have to blow this whole thing up. That's a crazy situation. But does Pastrnak want to be here for that? And, he has an easy out if he becomes a free agent not to. So I don't blame the guy for waiting. I know there's probably going to be fans that are sitting there going, what the hell is he waiting for? Sign the contract already. They don't owe you anything, those type of people. But I'm not going to blame the guy if he wants to wait this out to see what the future of the team is, with how crazy this team's future has been just the last two seasons. Every year we're talking about this, it seems like why would
every
you want to?
Every year is the last year.
Exactly. You keep pushing this window a little bit more and more open. You're trying to, with the door open, however you want to look at it. I don't blame him for wanting to stick it out and see, wait it out as long as he can.
His agent's got to be in his ear, dude, you don't know if Bergeron and Krejci are going to come back next year. What if he signs now? And, we've talked, Krejci said, he kind of clued it not definitely being his last year this year. Bergeron could play for however so many years, given how good he is, but you never truly know.
Mm-hmm.
What if Pastrnak signs an 8-year extension and then Bergeron and Krejci both call it quits? How is he going to feel?
That'd be really,
and how are
really
you gonna,
shitty.
how are you going to be able to maximize the value of that contract when there's no guaranteed way you could just get two solid top six centers to replace them.
Build around him, exactly.
If one of them is to retire. Say Krejci retires after this year and Bergeron stays. You know, Pastrnak could just play with Bergeron and be fine in the middle, but it's a very reasonable thing that I have to imagine is on their minds, meaning him and his agent JP Barry. It's a very legitimate concern where both of your aging top six centers could be done after this year.
Again, it goes back to asset management of the team, like, and not really having a true plan for the future outside of a couple of your main guys. Like, not a lot coming up the pipeline.
You never truly know, like, as we get later in the season, you know, if you were to have to trade Pastrnak, you never truly know until the end of the season if they're going to be done, unless, like, there was to be some sort of indication. However, that may come out. So if your Sweeney is like, we don't have a deal, we're not super confident towards the trade deadline, like, are we going to trade him? Or are we going to try and get this done before he hits unrestricted free agency? Then you run into that conundrum later in the season. It definitely has nightmare potential, but it comes back to a point we've talked about a lot, and is the wide consensus when anybody talks about David Pastrnak, unless they're a cynic rooting against the Bruins, is that they need to get something for it. If they can't sign him long term, because they could get a shit ton. It's kind of funny how this could work. Like, you could get your next top six center, a good young top six center prospect, and more in a deal for Pastrnak. Like, I think New Jersey is a popular rumor destination. If you could get Dawson Mercer, a first round pick, and more for David Pastrnak, and you're not going to sign him, like, that could be one of your best options. You go to LA and get Alex Turcotte or Quentin Byfield, who are two centers with very much top six center potential, I think. You got to explore that. But, of course, right now, this could all change in, like, a month and we get a deal done before camp. But it gets to a point where you're kind of teeter-tottering with your center future and you don't know whether you want to trade Pastrnak or not. You have to nail this. It gets to the point where you feel like he is not going to come back. And this could especially be, you know, if they're out of a playoff spot and they're not sure he's going to come back, like, you have much more of a reason to trade the guy. So, but then you have the Jacobs family. Even if they're not like a guaranteed playoff team, the Jacobs family is going to be like, Don, do something.
Try their darndest. Yeah.
They're going to do something, and they're a little more strapped to the cap this year, so it's going to be tougher. And you made another big long-term move and using some of that money with Lindholm now next year, and the years beyond. You're in a tough spot on Pastrnak, and it's obviously in their best interest to get it done before the season starts. But he's not in a rush to sign, and, you know, right now I can't really blame him.
No, absolutely not.
And it's another thing. There's so many aspects to this. It's not because he doesn't want to play here. I really do feel like he wants to, but he's very legitimate concerns. So
makes sense.
Been reported, but like it had the top six center stuff has to be on the top of his list. He needs to know who's going to be feeding him and winning faceoffs for him. So, and obviously with Bergeron and Krejci too, like, not every team can say they have two guys that are very skilled in all three zones, like, as well. Like, they make Pasternak's job not only easier in the offensive zone, but the defensive zone as well in the breakout. Like, there's just such massive players and leaders in this team that it's a huge thing for him and his agent to weigh. So there's a lot going on here, and I don't really like
none of it's good.
I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but I'm getting a little more nervous each day with time. So one thing I'm excited about, though, is that reportedly the Pooh Bear is coming back. And
I did see that today.
I'm not talking about the shoulder patch like we had in those awesome reverse retro jerseys last time. The Pooh Bear jersey,
giant
on the crest, with the leaked T-shirts. Give it to me. We had the Pooh Bear, like the white jerseys with the Pooh Bear that were like drawn up. Give me the Pooh Bear on the jersey. I'm buying it. I'll buy it. So will so many other people, and the haters will throw up. I want the Pooh Bear back so bad. I'm going to be so disappointed if it's not on the crest of the reverse retro jersey now, especially with this, potential leak coming out. Need it bad. It's a severe need. There are some other interesting ones. I think like 20 t-shirt designs got leaked. I'm trying to scroll and find them real quick. yeah, like you got a new looking Mighty Ducks logo. You got the old LA Kings crown. You got I don't even know what to consider the Oilers logo, like some sort of freaking thing related to oil. The old like logos. It looks like a meteor. Like
Okay.
I don't know how to characterize it, but you got the old Sabres logo that they had back when we were young lads. One of the Colorado alternate logos, which is really cool. Pittsburgh's, I've heard some people call it the robot penguin logo from when Mario
Yeah,
Lemieux
down
and
there. Oh
Yager were in
yeah,
their prime.
like super
So
pointy looking.
yeah, I love that logo. So it's funny to see the Kraken one too. It's just their normal logo because they're a new team.
Yeah.
You got the Sharks spelled in the California Golden Seals font. The Golden Seals were pretty bad franchise and achieve a whole lot when they were around, but really cool jerseys with the like the teal, like turquoise color and gold. I'd love to see the Golden Seals. The Lightning take the L here. I don't like the old Lightning logo. The new one's very bland, but I always thought that one looked kind of crappy and messy looking. But it does, bring back nostalgia like the Vinny LeCavalier days, Brad Richards, Marty St. Louis. So that's cool. Some nostalgia and the Canucks with the skating, whoever the hell that is. I like that logo.
Canuck.
Yeah, it's a skating Canuck. I thought a Canuck was a big angry whale. I don't even know. I don't know. I'm not tied up on their heritage and everything. So
I'm with you. I find Seattle and Vegas funny. Just the typical regular well, I can't think of the word. Their logos with nothing else really all that creative.
I'm really excited about Washington. I love
Washington's
the
cool. Yep.
logos with the black and like the brownish color.
Mm-hmm.
Those jerseys were awesome. Like young Ovi wearing those jerseys back in the day, and Backstrom was really cool. I hope they don't. That's one I really hope they don't screw up. Like absolutely, it would be really upset to see them screw up somehow because their uniforms were awesome when they had that logo, and the Jets just going with the classic old Jets logo. Looks like with a spin though. Don't see any red there, so interesting to see how all these jerseys look. And I can't believe I glanced over the Islanders with the Fisherman logo, and then you have the Rangers classic logo with the Statue of Liberty. So lots of potential here. I like it. I like what I'm seeing. I forgot about the Panthers too with the palm tree and the stick.
That
logo.
One's cool. I just saw that one. Yeah.
The Kings, I really don't care whether they go yellow or purple. Just give me that crown logo because they had some awesome yellow and like goldish purple logos and jerseys back in the day. So a lot of potential from these logos. They can nail the reverse retros this year. For their sake, I hope they're just not looking at a scenario with the Detroit practice jerseys last year or the Stars jerseys. They looked like green and white stormtroopers. Brutal. Very cool. Very excited. I just saw, speaking of uniforms, the Portland Winterhawks changed their logo as well. I wonder if that means anything for the Blackhawks because they got very similar logos. Their new jerseys look awesome, but just another tidbit given the fact that we're talking about jerseys and logos and stuff. Other quick, wait, I gotta ask: are you Team Pooh Bear or not? I almost forgot.
I wasn't in my early days, but it's kind of grown on me over the years. Like it's definitely better. I always butcher it, whatever is it the crack bear, the meth bear, whatever.
No,
that one
bear,
is
like the.
No, I know, but I was saying it's better. Obviously the better version of the bear logo is the Pooh Bear than
I love
whatever
the Pooh Bear, the LSD bear. I've seen.
Yeah, thank you. That one, yeah.
I just love it. I my brother had a Pooh Bear jersey with his name on the back when he was a kid.
I feel like someone in my house did. I remember seeing that somewhere around here. Like a hand me down, and I can't even remember. It was so long ago.
They'll put some sort of spin on it, but they could bring back the exact Pooh Bear jersey, and I'd be thrilled. I'd buy a new one. I'd be thrilled. I really hope they nail this because the Pooh Bear logo, it's just one of my favorite logos of all time. I love it.
It is a classic. I'll admit to that.
It is a classic. The haters are sick too. Quick thoughts: Kadri to Calgary 7x7. He gets a no move clause. The Avalanche. I was Alabama for some reason. The Avalanche reportedly offered 4x24. The Isles offered the same as he got from the Flames. So the Isles offered 7x7. There were rumors over the past few weeks or months or whatever that Lou just had a deal on the table. They were waiting to announce. Doesn't look like that was the case. The Islanders now miss out on JT Miller at the draft in a trade that was reportedly happening, and miss out on Kadri. But they overpaid for Alexander Romanov, so at least they have that.
It's something, yeah.
Islanders fans got to be losing their
Great.
minds. They deal with all the arena stuff last year, and having all these games on the road and COVID stuff last year, and now their GM's just doing nothing. But he did lock up Noah Dobson for 3 years. Romanov gets his first deal with the Islanders for 3 years, and they signed a bunch of depth guys. So you got your depth guys, and you got Noah Dobson locked up along with Romanov for the next 3 years.
Works.
So at least there's something, Islanders fans. At least Dobson didn't get offer sheeted, so that would have sucked for them. But the Kadri deal, it's 7 years, and that's a lot. But I think even if almost 32, Kadri kind of found this second wind, and
seemed like it.
He could work out pretty good there. I think he could work out. Kadri and Lucic on the same team is something I never thought I'd see. But
Might be a little awkward.
But two guys that can cause a ruckus. I don't know if I talked about this, speaking of Lucic, when RA from Barstool was tweeting out, a gif of Lucic with an eyes emoji and was saying it wasn't related to the podcast. I had to ask around and see if I could get any information, see if I could, get a little scoop city. And I was told that there is something to these rumors. Ooh, okay. The Bruins have talked to the Flames about Lucic, and one of the sticking points is trying to get them to retain 50%. So reasonable sticking point.
I was gonna say Foligno for Lucic, straight up, call it a day.
This was before the Kadri stuff, so I don't know what their plan is like now. I don't know how this affects things, but it is a discussion that they have had. So I don't know how recently they've talked since then or when their first discussions were, but this was, when did I have this? This is on the 12th. So it's been 12 days since. Lock and change, maybe they get something done. I imagine Foligno would be going the other way, but at the same time, Bergeron likes him, recruited him here, so you never know. Maybe Craig Smith goes to Calgary somehow and they make things work with one team or both teams getting a prospect along with things, or a picks being swapped. I don't know, a third team. I doubt a third team would be involved, but they'd only make this work if it was absolutely worth it for both sides.
With
the salary and stuff. So we'll see, but I know, from a source I trust that they did
definitely interesting
talk about it. So I would look, if we're trading Foligno at some retained money, say that for Lucic to 50%, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm not even hesitating. I will take Lucic for 1 year at 2.625 because I'm going to be really surprised at this point if they don't trade for him. I think the Bruins are going to sign Lucic next summer.
Probably. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
He's going to go to Vancouver to play in front of his home fans at the end of his career. He's going to stay in Calgary on a cheaper deal because they love him there, understandably so. He's just been widely known for the past few years as a very big locker room presence, good guy. Or he's going to come to Boston. He's going to, go back to where it all started towards the end of his career, just cause a ruckus on the fourth line with Mark McLaughlin and John Beecher. Hopefully that'd be a fun fourth line to watch someday. But there is credence to these Lucic rumors. It's a thing. Is it going to happen? I'm not saying that, but it's a thing. They have had talks about Lucic, so we'll see what happens. But it's not an imminent thing. It never was, what I've been told. So throw that out there, some breadcrumbs for the people. Other news: Paul Stastny to Carolina, 1 year, 1.5. I like that deal for Carolina. I really wanted to bring Kadri and Stastny up because they're two of the bigger guys left, but guys have been speculated at times over probably a couple months ago at this point, potential options for the Bruins if Krejci weren't to come back or whatever, if you could somehow fit Kadri in, but now with their new teams. So a conference rival gets a nice little veteran center that's still pretty good. I think Paul Stastny can still kick it out there. So nice 1 year deal for them with him. Other news in the NHL, this salary cap stuff I had it earlier. I saw this from ProHockeyRumors.com. They do a pretty good job with their articles they put out, and just like rumblings and stuff, and small bits of news like call-ups, people getting demoted and stuff throughout the season. One of my resources for that, they had a snippet about Elliot Friedman and Jeff Merrick at European Media Day, talking to NHL Deputy Commissioner Bill Daly. And Bill said that he thinks the NHL salary cap could rise significantly after the 2023-24 season. It marks a change from the previous league forecast post-pandemic, which pegged a significant jump after the 2024-25 season. The cap will likely raise another $1 million after this year to 83.5, but now can increase by much more than that for 2024-25. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hate that.
Yep.
Good news to the NHL, and they also mentioned that some big names, including Austin Matthews and William Nylander, Steven Stamkos, Jake Gensel, and Sebastian Aho, are slated to hit the free agent market around then, potentially making it easier for their current teams to re-sign them.
So. I wonder why the cap's going up.
What'd you think?
Interesting. Yeah.
What'd you thinking?
Just all those big names, like need some extra money to keep. It's like if it was like one or two of those guys, but the fact that it's Austin Martin and like Stamkos, like
Austin Martin. Did you say Aston Martin?
I did say Austin Martin. You're right. Austin Matthews. Just like big names like that, guys that have won stuff. Like it's interesting.
Yeah, I'm fully hoping, like a lot of people out there, that Matthews does go to Arizona to play where he grew up. Just to
that would be cool.
The Leafs, and
exactly.
I mean, look, the potential of Austin Matthews and Connor Bedard on the same team would be
fucked.
Crazy, dude. You'd have probably at that point the two best shooters in the whole league. Like Connor Bedard's release is completely absurd, like nothing I've ever seen. The exact motion, like the dude's got a gift. And speaking of the World Juniors earlier, like he was lights out. He's just nasty. Like he's so good. But yeah, I mean that's can help the league as a whole, and
for sure
help the Bruins, especially down the line for our case. So,
yep.
We'll see if the cap goes up. I think it was reasonable to expect a 1 million jump again after this season, but now that we can get more than $1 million 2 seasons from now is pretty nice. So we'll see where that goes. Something to monitor down the line. Sounds like things are trending in the right direction in some aspects of the business side of the game. And speaking of the business side of the game, the World Cup of Hockey is expected to return in 2024, which is sick. The World Cup of Hockey was awesome when they did it in 2018, especially that Team North America Sweden game that got crazy towards the end with the McKinnon overtime winner, 3-on-3 overtime. I want the World Cup of Hockey so bad. It's just such an awesome thing to get excited about in the summertime. Even though we had that one time, I think if I'm remembering correctly, they did the World Cup back in like the 90s and 2000s, but they brought it back in 2018. I might be wrong on that, but 2018 was awesome. I'd love to see them bring it back for 2024 and hopefully years to come. Because speaking of Connor Bedard, we could see him on one of those if North America goes with the same structure for that team, or Canada, which would be a lot of fun. So World Cup of Hockey expected to return. One last piece of hockey news. Just want to, we don't know exactly what's going on. Just want to send our best to Alexander Texier, who stepped away from the Blue Jackets today. Pretty sudden news, good young player, but he's stepping away from the Blue Jackets this season for the full year to enter the NHL/NHLPA Substance Abuse and Behavioral Health Program. I think I saw he can sign a 1-year deal in Europe somewhere if he wishes to keep playing. He's just not going to be playing for Columbus and stay fit, of course, for his sake. He said, during the past year, I've experienced some personal issues and challenges, and I feel the need to be close to my family at this time. I've love and respect for the city of Columbus, the Blue Jackets, and the fans, as everybody has treated me first class. I truly appreciate the support, help, and empathy I've received from team management, the coaching staff, doctors, trainers, and my teammates. This is a hard decision, but it's the best one for me right now. Sucks to see for a young player. Has shown some glimpses. Really good hands, really good skater, good young player. But he's got some stuff he needs to take care of. So just wanted to send our best to Alexander at this point, because no matter what he took this off for, we just hope he gets better, and he could be dealing with a lot. Imagine he is that he needs to take care of. So wishing him the best at this point in time, and hopefully he gets the help he needs, because got to be a tough thing to, if we were not do this, to have to deal with, whatever's going on throughout the season could just really make things hard for him. So just want to send our best to Alexander. But any other, hockey points you have thoughts on before we segue into some Red Sox stuff?
Not really. You can't go a show without dumping on the Red Sox here.
No, yeah, we haven't really had the opportunity to do that much
Nope.
this year. So
no, not at all. Definitely not lately either. There's just too much going wrong with this team to spend it all on just what has gone wrong and how bad this team has been since the trade deadline and the mistakes they have made. So last night while I was doing the outline, I had this thought come into my mind that we should do a new little mini Red Sox segment on how are they sucking now? How are they sucking this week? And there's two things that have come up this week on how the Red Sox have sucked. So suck number one is, and it wouldn't surprise me if you forgot this guy even existed, but did you remember or did you know that James Paxton is still on this roster? Technically? Yeah. Okay, you did. All right. Some people, like my dad, may have forgotten because James Paxton did go on a rehab assignment with the Florida Complex League Red Sox. He was pulled from that assignment. I can't speak. On Thursday, lasted just 2 batteries. He left it with a lat strain. This was from Chris Cotillo. Said, quote, Paxton's lat strain appears to be mild. He will have an MRI to confirm, but the Red Sox don't expect that to reveal anything more severe. He's shut down from throwing for now. That was from 4 days ago. So we talked about this, I think, at the trade deadline, or when we were discussing, all the things wrong with the trade deadline. And I think I brought the point up that I think one of the things the Red Sox were banking on was, Chris Sale's coming back and James Paxton will be back from his rehab. We're paying him $6 million to rehab this season. So he's going to come back at some point. Guess what? Who would have thunk it? James Paxton, who has not been healthy in 2, 3, 4 years, hasn't been able to come back from his Tommy John rehab. He has another injury. And now we sit here on, August 23rd we have, or August 24th? August 24th. The season's only about a month and a half to go. If Paxton's shut down from his rehab assignment, how long is it going to take him to get back up to speed and get healthy? And are we going to see James Paxton for the rest of the season? Probably not. So this has turned into, I think, at least my thought, maybe you share the same thought. I know a lot of people do. Turned into probably the worst signing of the season, maybe one of the worst moves Chaim Bloom has ever made in his Red Sox tenure for a lot of different reasons. And now this is a move that could come back to hurt you next year as well. Chris Cotillo had this, and it's kind of lengthy, so I'll try to summarize it very quickly here. He said, quote, Paxton's unique deal comes with a $6 million base salary for 2022, which the Red Sox gave him knowing he'd spend most of the year rehabbing, and options for the next 2 seasons. After this season, Boston will have to decide whether to exercise a 2-year, $26 million club option that guarantees Paxton's contract through 2024 or decline it. If the club does decline it, Paxton will have the ability to exercise a 1-year, $4 million player option for 2023. It's too early to tell how Thursday's developments will impact the club's decision on Paxton's contract. It really isn't. The decision should be easy. The Red Sox should probably decline that 2-year, $26 million option, and it comes out to a 1-year, $13 million. But the way the clause is set up is you pay him over the next 2 years and you have him under control. But the problem is with how bad James Paxton has been when it comes to rehabbing this season and how inconsistent he's been with the injuries over the last couple of years. Do we really think James Paxton's going to decline his $4 million option for next year and go test the market where no one's going to pay him anywhere close to that? Probably not. You don't know. I think I can answer that question. Probably not. So he's going to pick up his 1-year, $4 million option if you decline the 2-year 26. So you're paying him $6 million this year. When we talked about it at the trade deadline and you didn't make any moves, you're already over the cap. So he's hurting you financially, both on and off the field, because he's not playing again either. Again, we talked about it. You went into the trade deadline thinking that he was going to be one of your trade deadline acquisitions when he came back from his rehab, which is not going to happen. And now you're stuck with a guy knowing nothing about what's going to happen next year, if he'll decline his option, if he'll pick it up. And you don't know how he's going to play next year if he even gets on the field. So this move has been a disaster. You and I think at the time when they signed him, we're a little curious as to he's hurt, but maybe he can help you down the stretch if he gets back. It's not the worst move on the planet. I think it has now turned into the worst move, like I said earlier, that has been made this season and that maybe Chaim Bloom has ever made so far in his short-lived, so far Red Sox tenure, and hopefully short-lived, because I'm on the full boat of next year should be the last year of the Chaim Bloom experience. If it does not work out, I think this guy has to go, because this is a deal that there has not been one positive that has come out of it.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Just didn't have a ton of optimism for Paxton this year because of all this injury trouble, and proven to be the case. We're just dealing with this more and more. We've had talk of rehab starts the past few weeks, and nothing like extremely encouraging to him coming back and at least playing some games to make the deal worth it this year.
Give you something, some sort of glimmer of hope. Like, okay, maybe this guy's worth picking up, with the options for the next couple of years. Have a guy in your rotation that you can, maybe rely on to eat some innings for you, but he can't even do that. Like, this guy has not been reliable, hasn't made 25 plus starts since 2019, hasn't ever made 30 plus starts in a season, and has only pitched 150 innings or more twice in his big league career, 160 and a third in 18 and 150 and 2/3 in 19. So it's not like this is a guy that goes out there and makes 30, 32 starts a year and he'll give you 180 to 200 innings. Like, this is a guy that you kind of knew what to expect when you signed him, and you're getting that. And again, it's just another just bad move to compound on what has been an already bad season filled with a ton of bad moves.
Yeah, it just falls into that category. And
and then the other
with Tommy John is like one of these things we absolutely could have predicted.
Yep, absolutely. Like, you should have seen this coming when you signed him back in January or February, whatever the hell the deal came down. And again, we knew that, like Chris Cotillo had. You knew he was going to be paid to rehab, but you hoped when they gave the timeline of, he'll be back in July or August, the earliest. We should have sat there and been like, all right, well, this is, again, like you said, you can see this coming. This timeline is not going to go as it should, and something's going to go wrong, or something's not going to, be on track like it is. And you're not going to see him until at this rate, you probably won't see him until September call-ups, if you're even lucky, which they're not going to be. And then, because again, the further they fall out of, a playoff race or anything like that, there really isn't any reason to rush this guy back. Like, if he gets hurt again, then you're really in trouble, or like maybe if you want to see a couple starts out of him, but then at that point, like, just pick up the option and be done. So it's a move that didn't make a lot of sense at the time. It doesn't make a lot of sense now. And again, for a lot of reasons, it is hurting you both on and off the field. It makes next year even trickier to try to predict which direction they're going to go in and what they're going to do.
Yeah, shit sucks.
Then the other
suck, even though we
exactly. I know. I have this in the outline today. He has the only 2 runs or 2 RBIs of the game for the Red Sox. But the other thing that's sucking with the Red Sox, or what they're doing now to suck, is, can we please stop trying to make Franchy Cordero a thing? We jumped for joy when they optioned him about a month ago and said, this is it. We're not going to have to deal with Franchy Cordero anymore. They got Eric Hosmer to play first base. That move hasn't worked out. I'm not going to go into that too much, but he hasn't been great here. Now he's hurt with back spasms. Those can linger. So maybe Eric Hosmer's done for the season. Who knows? He's going to probably take some time to come back. So now Franchy's back up here at first base. Tristan Casas is healthy. Tristan Casas has been hitting the ball since he's returned. 26 games, 3 homers, 9 RBIs. He's batting .271. There's the one motorcycle.
There it is.
Yep. Took a while, but we got there. He's been a doubles machine, 9 doubles, and like I said, 26 games, 16 walks, 26 strikeouts. As the season as a whole for Worcester in 62 games. Again, the injury kind of derailed things. 258, 9 homers, 31 RBIs. I would take that at this point. Again, you're not playing for anything. Like, I know this team is delusional and thinks they still have a chance at a playoff race. Tristan Casas should be your first baseman right now. I'm so tired of the guy, like I have in the outline, I'm coining the new Rusney Castillo, because Franchy Cordero, every time he gets optioned, everyone loses their mind when he goes like 3 for 4, and how it really isn't. Like, Rusney Castillo was the same player. You had him up here. Guy couldn't hit a curveball, and then when you sent him to AAA, he batted like 400 and was the second coming of Ted Williams, because the guy could hit fastballs right down the dick. Like, getting aggravated talking about Franchy Cordero.
Yeah,
and again, it making me eat my words because he has our only runs tonight. But I don't understand what the fascination is. What this guy is. Like, he's a guy that comes up here, like tonight, hits you one big home run, or in the Little League game, hits you a pinch hit home run, and then goes on a stretch where he goes like 0 for 30 with half of his at-bats being strikeouts. Like,
it's stupid. Like, just at this point, every time I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's call Tristan Casas up. I never expect it to actually happen. Just give us cautious once at some point of the season.
You'll get him for the last 5 games of the year or something dumb.
If we go through all this shit and don't get any cautious, like it could be 3 games. I don't care. 3 games.
I just want to see. Give me a pinch hit at bat just to see what he does.
Like a little bit.
But that's the frustrating thing.
I want a glimpse.
Yeah, that's the frustrating thing too. Is I didn't even see this until today. But apparently, according to Alex Cora, he was never even in consideration to be called up when they were discussing who they were going to bring up for the 27th man of the Little League game that they played against Baltimore, or when Hosmer went on the injured list. It was Franchi the entire way, which again is just so utterly stupid. Like,
yeah, which is like, it's okay in the sense like, you know, he hasn't been back from the injury for like super long, so you want him to get reps down there. Keep
True.
going.
Yep.
But like, not even in consideration. Like, kind of makes me wonder if they're even going to call him up to begin with. Like,
that's what I mean.
At any point this season, like, I hope I'm wrong, and I really do. If I were to pick one side, I do think they will call cautious up at some point. But like, God, I just said cautious by accident, and it kind of makes sense because of how they're approaching the situation with them.
They don't even know. Yeah.
Like, dude, like, your team sucks. He'll be okay. This guy can hit 487-foot home runs. Like, he's got that power. Just give him a chance.
Yep.
Just give him a chance.
Like I said, you know, you've had 121 games of Franchi Cordero, 122 tonight over the last 2 years. You know what the guy is. He gets you one big hit here and there, and then, like last night, I think I can't remember who. It might have been Alex Spear had the tweet where he was 0 for 2 and 2 at bats with 2 Ks and had seen 7 pitches. Like, that is Franchi Cordero, and I think somebody on Twitter said too he dropped the fly ball or misplayed a fly ball. Like, the guy's not a Major League Baseball player. Like, I'd rather see the prospect come up here, and
he's a DH.
You hope he doesn't struggle, but exactly, he's a glorified DH that again can't hit, so like you can't even do that right.
Speaking of guys that are DHs, why or should be DHs? Why is Bobby Dahlbeck playing shortstop tonight?
They have nobody else. That's it. The construction of the team. That's why Bobby Dahlbeck is playing shortstop. You have nobody else to play the position. Like, I think, it honestly probably, if he was healthy, I think the call up for Hosmer may have been Downs, but Jeter Downs like destroyed his, I think, knee the other night, a couple nights ago, and he's injured now, so he's not available. So that's why I think he got Dahlbeck at short tonight. I don't understand it. Again, it's another eat your words type of thing because he hasn't made any, bad plays, or he's fielded every ground ball that's been hit to him tonight. I've been watching the game where we've been doing this. He's looked decent there. So it's not like he's been
I'd rather have Mikey Romero just play.
It's just, call it the 17-year-old or whatever he is, or get Mayer on the fast track here. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. Again, it just feeds into the whole fusion of the season. Oh, there he is right there. He just made another play.
Yeah, I mean,
there's your future shortstop, Bobby Dahlbeck.
They deserve this. They deserve
absolutely.
This.
Yep. I said the same thing to my dad the other day. We were having this discussion. You reap what you sow. Yep.
You're dealing with some injuries right now, albeit, namely just one big guy in Hosmer in the batting order. But
Bogarts isn't 100%. That's why Dahlbeck's short tonight.
Bogarts is frustrated. He's not 100%. What was the quote that came out? He's like, I don't know what's happening this year. Like,
it's just been
even though he, some of the more advanced stats is doing pretty good in. I don't really look into those too deeply, but I'll see him every once in a while on Twitter and have a smile because I love Xander Bogaerts. But yeah, man, this team, and I say this, I'm going to a friggin' Sox game on Friday
I know
night,
you
but,
unfortunate bastard. Like,
it's okay. We'll probably won't make it past the 5th or 6th inning.
Get out of there before.
If they're dominating, maybe we'll stay. But I don't know. Even if they're winning, like, to get me to stay that late at a game on a Friday night, it's a tough
exactly.
It's a tough sell. Like, it could be 10 o'clock in the 6th inning. Like,
who do they have? They probably don't even have the matchups out yet.
Have a few cold ones, like
exactly. I'm trying to see who's pitching on Friday night.
Cold ones that don't cost like $14.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Friday against the Rays. Oh, okay. You might get a good game. It's Michael Walker going. So there's. Who would have thought as we sit here on August 24th that Michael Walker is the pitching matchup you want to have going when you go see a Red Sox game? But
you're bad at predicting.
Not great.
Deal pitchers. Martin Perez.
Yeah. Perez was not good.
Michael Walker.
Perez was not good. I was not high on him. I was high on Matt Andrees. That didn't work out. And then proceeded to call Michael Walker the next Matt Andrees, and that didn't work out either.
No.
So I just can't.
It can never be me. I was willing to give Perez a chance and same with
That's
Walker.
true. It worked for 1 year, and then it kind of came back to rear its ugly head in his second go around, where he did not.
If only we could Photoshop
well
a
at all.
storm cloud over your head.
Now he's an all-star.
If only we could put a storm cloud over your head on Zoom every time you have a mistake like that.
Yep, over there. Yep.
Oh,
comes back to burn me more so than not. But like at this point, like I want some credit for Martin Perez because he sucked in his second year here, but now he's an all-star. So I don't know how much credit I get back. So who knows?
My God, this team sucks.
Yes, they do. And it's, again, you're handcuffed for next year. So it could get even worse depending on what direction they want to go in and who they want to let walk and not resign.
Yeah. At this point, man, for the show, I'm just looking forward to football season.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to hockey season. And, of course, hopefully a championship season for the Celtics. They're the team I have the most high hopes for. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, the Red Sox just, they're going to be the Red Sox. So,
you can't stop them from making their dumb mistakes. They won't learn from them. So,
and not too long from now, like 2 weeks, 2 episodes from now, we'll be talking season predictions to the NFL and stuff, and that'll be fun. And we'll be back.
Yeah,
football to talk about every week until like February. So that's gonna be fun. But we'll have a good show next week, depending on what comes out. We'll talk about more Patriots stuff, and then segue our way into season predictions and stuff, which is one of our favorite things to do every year. So,
absolutely.
But thank you so much for listening. Episode 108 after a week off. I hope you weren't suffering too much without us last week. There wasn't a ton of news, so we're back in the mix today, and going forward, it's good to have a little break. So, thank you so much for listening. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts. You can rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us on the Full Press Coverage app or on any of the social media platforms like YouTube and Twitch. Find us on TikTok, throw Salvaggio and Cratty into the search bar. I'll get back to posting. I gotta be honest, just been lazy. I just really don't use TikTok that much anymore, but I will post when I feel like it. So if you want to see that, you can see that. Please do. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike_Cratty. You can follow Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio. And you can follow the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. Enjoy the last remaining days of summer and all that jazz. And we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Peace out.